This is a Big Facts Network exclusive.
What's up? Welcome to another episode of the DJ Screen Show. I'm here. Listen, today I got a special guest, man. Plant-based, holistic health coach, entrepreneur, and so many other things. A personal, dear friend of mine. I'd like to welcome Rashon Fuller to the DJ Screen Show. What's up, my brother? What's up?
Salute, man. So excited to be here.
Man, we've been talking about this for some time.
Yes, indeed. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. Yeah. Listen, for everybody out there today, just understand that in our conversation, there'll be plenty gems. I mean, gems, obviously, as it pertains to, regular health, mental health, spiritual health, whatever type of health, and just gems. So just stay focused. You know what I'm saying? And we got some gems for y'all. Give everybody yourself like an introduction of yourself, the best way that you can, or you know how.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I am a certified nutritional wellness coach. My focal point is to really help individuals avoid metabolic collapse. When I look at the numbers, 88% of all U.S. adults actually have some type of insulin resistance, which is that at the root of a lot of metabolic syndrome or conditions, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, brain fog, inflammation in the body, and of course, heart disease. So my goal is to chip away at that, and especially Black and brown people. We are really suffering. And so much of it just boils down to lifestyle and nutrition. And that's pretty much, where I'm really focused at right there.
Most people, when they make a change in their lifestyle, make a change in their diet, is usually because they've come up against some type of crisis or some type of ailment. What was that for you? Like, what was that moment where, not saying this literally, but your hand didn't feel right, or some pain didn't feel right, or something wasn't operating right in your body, and you're like, you know what, I think it's time to make a change?
Yeah, that, interesting. My point of entry was a little different. My point of entry had more to do with me seeing family members suffering. When I was young, young as in like 2, 3, 4, 5, like, the starting part of life. My family was very close, really close knit. In fact, my mom had 9 siblings, and out of the 9 siblings, we could walk to at least 5 of my aunts and uncles' houses. Like we were, including my grandparents. So we were walking distance from each other. So we celebrated everything in life together, birthdays, events. And I could remember around 12, 13, when that began to break up. And in came diabetes, in came high blood pressure, in came cancer. I remember watching my aunt get a perfectly good leg amputated. Lost my grandparents to heart disease. And I just began seeing the toll that it was taking. I watched everyone getting sick, and it all culminated when my cousin, who was only 14 at the time. I was 13. This was like my favorite cousin. He died from hypertension pulmonary disease. And I couldn't understand, I couldn't even wrap my mind around it. And what I was told is that it was genetic. I didn't understand genetic. I didn't understand any of that. So that's what sparked it for me. I knew I first wanted to do something different for myself, but I wanted to be that one to change the direction that things was going, even at a young age. So I became vegetarian at the age of 16. I didn't have any health conditions. The only thing that pushed me there was the fear of not wanting to repeat those cycles.
Speaking of repeated cycles and genetics, are you a believer that some people believe like, okay, this is your genetics. Regardless of what you do, you're going to have to come up against this because this is genetic, right? Or are you a believer that we can alter those genetics based on what we put in our bodies and based on, activity and other things? What's your belief?
Yeah. So the beautiful part of that is just the way science is advancing. Had you asked me that question 10 years ago, I probably would have leaned toward genetic disposition. Like, if it's in the genes, it's probably something you got to really be mindful of. Maybe lifestyle factors could have some impact. But now we have sciences like epigenetics. And epigenetics is explaining the turning on and off of genes. And it makes things really clear. Like you could imagine if your grandfather was a alcoholic, it doesn't mean your great great grandfather was an alcoholic or your great 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 grandfather was an alcoholic, but you could possibly have the gene. So someone would say, hey, be careful, around alcohol, be mindful of that because your grandfather was alcoholic.
More predisposed, right?
But if it only started 2 generations ago, that means your grandfather might have been the first one to become alcoholic, and then maybe your father became an alcoholic, but you have the ability to shift that, to turn that gene on and off based on lifestyle factors.
Got you.
So if you turn that gene off, according to epigenetics, then your children are not predisposed in the same way to that alcoholic gene. And you could turn that off based on how you eat, how you think, and all the other lifestyle factors. So 100% it could be altered.
So when we talk about plant-based and not eating meat, there's a very, 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 very frequent conversation in our community and communities everywhere about meat, vegetarian, plant-based, not eating meat. And then there's people saying, oh, I feel so good, I stopped eating this meat, or I stopped eating this and took this stuff out of my diet. Another thing we'll get into is fasting. There's this, basically on social media, you look at social media and there's all these doctors that know the answer. Like, all you got to do is stop this or stop this or stop this. You particularly, what is your belief when it comes to the consumption of meat or animal products? Because some scientists or some doctors will say, depending on your blood type, you need meat or whatever the case may be. Based on your studies and your research, like, what is your heartfelt belief when it comes to the consumption of meat and animal products?
Yeah. So my perspective is like this. If you look at the numbers, because men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie, right? If you look at the numbers in America, if you look at the heart disease rate, the cancer rate, the obesity rate, and you could just run an erectile dysfunction, women with fibroids and cancer. Like if you just look at the whole gambit of disease pathology. And my question would be, are we winning? Are we seeing increase in health, vitality? Like we moving in the right direction of getting healthier as a nation? Or are we moving in the other direction? And the reality is we're not. And what is our habits? Are we in this condition being plant-based? Or are we in this condition eating meat and processed foods and refined foods? So my thing is, if we look at the condition of animals and how they're being processed, slaughtered, and brought to a supermarket near you, if we look at something like dairy, the numbers is insane. Something like 68% of African Americans, 80-something% of Hispanics, and 90% of Asians are lactose intolerant. I mean, this is, basic research, right? So when you're eating things like dairy, you're drinking the milk of an animal that is preparing lactose for a 2,000 ton, a calf that is going to grow to be 2,000 tons, right? So how do you do that? It's got to be loaded with fat. And it's that fat that's going into our bodies and it's blocking cells from being able to intake insulin. So that's where the insulin resistance begins, when the layers of fat begin blocking. And meat and dairy is probably, some of the biggest culprits of where that's coming from.
Yo, what's up? It's DJ Scream. Listen, you're trying to get your health together. You're trying to get your energy up. You need some herbs. This is what I need you to do. Check out shopfredsfarm.com. Some of my favorite herbs. We're talking Irish sea moss, right? We're talking soursop leaf, right? We talking burdock root. Burdock root is actually right here. Burdock root and dandelion root at shopfredsfarm.com and so much more. So log on to shopfredsfarm.com and use my promo code SCREAM10. That's SCREAM10 for 10% off of your order. That's right, SCREAM10 for 10% off of your order at shopfredsfarm.com. Why do you think that if you watch a documentary on Asian culture and like the blue zones and everything, that they consume some of this stuff, but they're still able to outlive everybody, basically?
Yeah.
Okinawa, Japan, where they consume meat. Of course, they don't consume a lot or any processed food for sure, but they consume meat, but obviously with a lot of vegetables and a lot of different things. Obviously, there's other factors in Okinawa, Japan, probably less pollution, less stress. They're a lot more active, right? But why do you think that a place like that can still live a long, healthy life with the consumption of animal products?
Yeah. So you hit on something really key. It's in a balance, right? So in my programs, I don't necessarily advocate that everybody become plant-based. I don't even think that's a reality. Everybody, and that may not be what works for everybody. But the key is, like, I was recently in Morocco, and the whole time I was in Morocco, I was traveling all around the country, and I was eating things like, they got this dish called kops, which is like a bread and sweet tea. And I mean, every day I was eating this stuff. I was there for a while. Every day I'm eating, because they start all meals with that. And then I'm going to different families, and eating there. So number one, the bread wasn't impacting me at all. I wasn't getting any bloating, like no eczema, like things that bread here would do. None of that was happening. I'm drinking the Moroccan tea, which is sweet tea. No impact whatsoever, like I would here. But then I remember one of the guys asking me, after I was there for at least a week, and I remember him asking me, like, can you tell me again why you don't eat meat? And then it dawned on me, because I had to think to myself, if I lived here in this kind of environment, I probably wouldn't be plant-based.
So you basically saying in America.
So in America, yes, but there's other factors, is what I'm saying. So a lot of people who are plant-based, they eat junk plant-based foods.
For sure. Junk food vegans.
Absolutely. They don't realize it. Like, they are loading up on carbs. It's so many factors when you're talking about the homeostasis of the body, right? It's when you're eating, how you're eating, what is your first meal, what is the combinations? Because you can eat all plant-based foods or quality foods and still spike your blood sugar, right? And you're still having these spikes and crashes. And insulin touches everything in the human body. It is an incredible hormone that's not just regulating blood sugar. And once it becomes resistant, once your body becomes insulin resistant, or you open up the floodgates to metabolic disease. And it all has to do with how you're combining meals. And some of us don't know how to properly combine meals. Carbs, healthy fats, vitamins, minerals, protein, and of course, like, fiber has to be built into that. So if you're not combining that in the right way, it doesn't matter what you're eating. If you're eating at the wrong times, too late before bed, like, all these things really impact us as much as what we're eating, when we're eating, and the condition of where we're at. You mentioned stress. In those blue zones, they are really into celebrating life. They walk everywhere they go. A lot of them drink a little bit of alcohol. They drink a little bit of coffee. Like, it's balanced. They don't eat. None of the blue zones is meat the predominant meal choice. So they have this balance where it's predominantly fruits and vegetables and whole foods, and they substitute in meat from time to time.
So look, the reality is that most of the people that are watching this, some of them are probably on their own health journey.
Yes.
But some of them are watching because they may not be well off, right? Without having to go, of course, this is important too, to follow someone that you trust. Maybe you have to get into a program or whatever the case may be. But if somebody's watching this just from the kindness of our hearts and just to give information and gems that we promise them, and let's say they have hypertension, let's say they have insulin resistance, let's say they're in a very bad space and place, what's the first 3 things you would tell that person to start to shift their well-being, shift towards well-being?
Yeah. I would start here. Number 1, mindset.
Okay. Before you even touch any food, before you even work out, go to the gym,
mindset.
Get your mind right.
Get your mind right. Mindset has to start with this: I am capable of healing. See, a lot of people will go to the doctor, and when the doctor lay that thing on you, hey, you got high blood pressure, take these meds or whatever it is, like, it's debilitating. And a lot of times we go in, we sink, right? And we feel no matter what we're doing, because there are a lot of times you'll get meds and they won't even give you like when you're going to get off those meds, right? So we don't necessarily feel like we can heal. We feel like we got to manage it. So we're managing disease as opposed to
trying to
heal from it, right? And it starts with the belief, I can heal, right? And also mindset is, okay, you might not want to do these things. You've been eating a certain way all your life, right? So some of these changes might be a little uncomfortable in the beginning, right? But mindset says, okay, is it health first or is it pleasure and taste first? Like, you know, we got to focus on that. The next thing is getting to the root. So maybe it's high blood pressure. Maybe it's the beginning stages of, you know, heart disease. But at the root is inflammation, right? At the root of inflammation even is insulin resistance. That's usually at the root, at the core. So the first thing that I would begin addressing is balancing blood sugar levels. I would start right there. And that will help with inflammation. And you can do that simply by paying attention to how you're eating meals. Do not load up on carbs. You need to have balance. A balanced meal has to be a combination of healthy amounts of protein, healthy amounts of healthy fats, omega-3s, and then, of course, mixed in with quality carbs. If you could just focus on those 3, and I would try to not eat anything before 11 o'clock. And just simple as that, could get you on your path.
So the person has their mind right. They've done prayer, meditation, mind over matter. Listen, I'm ready to I'm making a conscious decision that I'm ready to make this change. All right, then I think that the diet part gets a little tricky because the gems that you're giving them, is there more to those gems? Like, do I just go to the grocery store and get food? Does it have to be organic food? Does it have to be a particular type of food? There's some people, and I'm not even trying to be funny, they might not even completely understand what a carb is. When I started to eat better, I had a lot of fruits and vegetables mixed up. I didn't know that this was a fruit and this was a vegetable, right? So what are some resources you think they can use to try to make sure that they nail that diet? Because most of them, and we're not knocking any grocery store, I'm not even gonna say a name, most of them gonna go to the local grocery store and just grab what they see because they don't necessarily know better. And then a lot of people are on budgets. So does it make a difference if it's organic, or does it not make a difference? Can they just grab the life-size orange that's GMO and eat that? Like, I guess kind of help the people out.
Yeah. So I want to start by saying it's a lot to navigate. It's a lot to navigate, right? I've been on this journey for quite a while. I've been plant-based for 10 years, but I've been on this journey for a while, and I'm always learning new things. One of the things that makes it so complex is you have a industry, multiple industries. You got pharma, or big pharma as they call it, right? You got the whole medical industry, right? You have the food industry. You have insurance companies. You got all these massive industries that are making huge profits off people being sick. I'm just going to be really honest, right? So they're not motivated to change things.
Right.
So you go to your local supermarket, you're going to get 90% of everything in the supermarket is just some combination of corn, wheat and soy. Processed, mixed up. You go up and down all the different aisles. You don't even find real food. There's very little real food in the supermarket. But some people, that's all they got access to. Right? I've learned that in my program. I'll be, trying to send people to these farmers markets. Some people only have access. It's like food deserts. So even if that's all you have access to, you can still make better choices even in those environments, right? This part is important. I think you got to be really careful who you're following for information.
Correct.
We live in a stage that's this era of social media, and you got all these gurus, and they're telling you everything. But I'm telling you, I've been in this space. I'm around and have been around a lot of these so-called gurus, and many of them don't live what they're telling people to do.
That's
right?
one thing I was going to ask. So some of them don't live what they preach, but do you think some of them aren't trying to ill-advise, they just don't know better?
Well, I think if you're trying to grow, right, and sell whatever you're selling, you have to say things shocking. If one person is saying this, you got to come out and say something so polarizing, right? And that gets people in trouble because sometimes you're saying something shocking and the next new thing, drink this thing and cure everything, right? And you're not really understanding that people are going to receive this that are a little off balance. Maybe they're dealing with some type of sickness. They're going to take that and run with it, and you can really mess people up like that.
So if someone's in the music industry and they're an artist at your level, whatever artist that may be, and I was having a conversation with them and said, hey, I want you to shout out one of the OGs in the rap game, but I also want you to give love to one of the young boys too, right?
Right.
In your space, in the holistic space, who's that OG that you salute, that you say, okay, you can get good information from this person, and who's one of the young boys that you salute? We'll keep the energy positive. We won't go into the people that we don't salute per se, but let's focus on the people that you do salute and that you feel like you've got an insight from.
Oh, let's see. So now we're talking about people that others can access.
Yes,
like
say
that's
for instance,
visible right now.
Say for instance, I'm gonna just keep it above. In this space, the community beholds Dr. Sebi as the GOAT, just like in the basketball space, they behold Michael Jordan as the GOAT. You see what I'm saying? I'm not asking you to agree or disagree with that. I'm just saying, like, who are the names from Rashon Fuller's perspective? Like, nah, this is a person that's the real deal to me. You know what I'm saying?
So,
and the older, because we want to focus on somebody that may have preceded you that was giving information, but we also want to focus on somebody that is younger that may be coming after you that has to keep it going, because regardless, we have to keep this conversation going in order for people to get it, right?
Indeed. So as far as older, I'm going to, let me lay this out there. I think with everyone, there's things that they're bringing that's really good. And then there's things that may not work for everybody.
Correct.
Dr. Sebi is a good one. I think Dr. Sebi was amazing. But if I was to poll 100% of Sebiites, like those who just, started off, I would probably say 70% couldn't keep up with that. It was so extreme that very few could really keep that lifestyle up. Then there are some that adopted aspects of it, but very few just stayed this strict Sebiite type of situation. Dr. Layla Africa. I got a chance to see Dr. Sebi, Dr. Layla Africa, Dr. Dick Gregory. I seen these guys in person, and they were giants. Ra'um Nefer, Amen, monster. Like the old school guys did real research. They had case studies in front of them because many of them have followings. Matter of fact, I really got to even go back to Elijah Muhammad. Because one of the first impacts on me was eating one meal a day in the Nation of Islam,
how to eat to live as well. Shout out to that.
And it's going back to that, just simply eating one meal a day. He was really on to something. Because that gives your body, we call it intermittent fasting today, but it gives your body an opportunity to remove so much waste. So the beautiful part is each one of them brought something unique. And if you took a little bit from everybody's, table, then you're going to win. Right? But if you try to just embody everything that someone is saying, then you're ignoring that maybe everything, because we're all bio-individual. So not everything will work for you.
Will work for everybody,
right? So those are some names that really stand out. I know I'm missing some. Queen, what's her name? Queen, I forget her name. But some individuals, I don't know their name because I follow them on Instagram or on social media, and I just know like their handles on social media. So I'm missing a lot of names, but it's not intentional. But there's a lot of older people that crushed the game, like really brought amazing information. Younger, I kind of struggled with the younger. There's a couple people that I think are doing an amazing job, but no one that I've just locked in on. And mostly because of this, like, I don't necessarily like the ideal of when people, and this is kind of trendy, right? Eat this food, like they'll come up with like a handful of foods or like some extreme fasting. And I just don't think that the average person who's not, okay, let me put it this way. The ideal of managing life, shopping and coming home and preparing these meals. What I find when I'm working with people is you got to dial that thing back. And it's not just about fancy recipes or these, makes this one smoothie and it'll cure cancer. Like, I don't like that approach because the body is holistic and you got to deal with trauma. You got to deal with
the whole scope.
Sleep, right? You got to deal with, waste removal. You got to deal with nutrition. Like, you got to deal with the holistic body and mind. And I don't hear enough people dealing with that.
The full scope.
The full scope.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, I'm going to be honest. Because, I get a lot of gems from you. I even did one of your programs. I personally have felt, and this is just feel, and then I guess it kind of is in blood work too. When we talk about Yaki Awaken and we talk about the geogenetic juice, and I don't know the scientific area, I can't get in. That's not what I do, right? It's just opening conversation. I can't say I felt some benefits from that. But I don't know if those benefits would have been the same if I didn't follow some of the things you told me a couple years ago about he's the reason I sleep now. At the age of 40 plus, it wasn't until 40 plus till I had a long conversation with him about sleep, how to sleep, quality of sleep, the fact that everybody needs different amounts of sleep. Some people do need 8 and 10 and maybe 12 hours. Some people can operate on 5-6 hours. So not eating after a certain time so that your body can shut down. So I guess I just put that out there to say, just a curiosity, like, have you checked out a Yaki Awaken and have you checked out some of his information? Like, it's all in positivity and building, but let's talk about some of the things, because he does have a lot of people juicing and doing certain things and trying to do better, even though maybe they're falling short, maybe they're not, we don't know. But what's your thoughts on kind of like some of his regimen and information?
Yeah, you know what? I like Yaki Awakening. I've not listened to all of his stuff. I'm not like, really follow him. But from time to time, I've picked up on pieces. And what I do know is he's reaching a lot of people. Like, he's wildly popular. I seen a drink that he had put out that a lot of people.
Geogenetic juice. Yep.
Yeah, and I thought that was very generous for him to put that out there and give people an opportunity to kind of get exposed to it. So I really salute that. I think he's doing an amazing job.
Okay, dope. Now we could talk about food forever, right? We already said that somebody has to get in the right mindset and get their mind right to want to do better, regardless of what that is, right? We talked about food and we talked about activity. We talked about a lot of things as it pertains to just well-being, right?
Yeah.
But how important is, and we speak specifically kind of in African American communities, how important is what we consume as far as our music, what we consume as far as social media, what we consume as far as toxicity outside of the food? How important is it for us to address that to be fully healthy?
Yeah. I think that's such a massive part of it, right? Because we have to manage stress. And there's certain things that we don't necessarily contribute to stress. And a big part of it is like, let's say, for instance, you're listening to music that is toxic, right? That goes into the subconscious. That is a part of how you think and your beliefs become biology. Literally, your physical body is a result of your beliefs and mind in so many ways. So if you don't guard that, if you don't guard what's going into the spirit and what's going into the mind, then you're not going to guard what's going into the body, because that's what's going to form.
Do you think, you come from Philly, right?
Yeah.
We've had this conversation. From Decatur, Georgia, you're from Philly. We've humble beginnings, right? When you say you crossed over into being a vegetarian at a particular age, I personally came up in a household where we didn't consume pork or beef at a certain age. Do you think that there was a shift in your behavior and your mentality and everything when you did make those changes in your diet? Say, for instance, I've heard people say, man, I'm not even as angry when I went plant-based or vegan. Like, do you think that would solve some of the issues in our community of just firing off and murder and just anger? Do you think some of this energy is coming from these hormones or these dead spirits and these animals? Like, what is your thought on that? Keeping it real.
It's all energy. We don't give enough respect to that reality. Money is energy.
For sure.
Right? The whole physical thing is an illusion. It's just energy. Right? Matter is never created. Energy is never created nor destroyed.
Yeah.
Right? So if you look at if you look at who we are as beings, if you're putting, let's say for instance, you're eating an animal. Well, you're taking on all the energy and the spirit of that animal.
For sure.
How that animal died, if it was stress, if it was and no animal is going to die and it's not be stressful. So when you're consuming that, you are consuming a big part of that animal and that stress. You're taking that in. So I can say with 100% clarity that when you make changes, whether it's not eating meat or eating one time a day or, taking out some high fructose corn syrup and pulling sugar, it doesn't have to be just one big jump. As you begin to clean up diet, you begin to clean up thoughts. You begin to clean up cells.
Absolutely.
And all of it begins to take on a different persona. Right? So you look, a good example of that is Nation Islam. You get individuals who spent all this time in prison and was on heroin and, and if you just look through the history, they've taken these men and cleaned them up and they are face shining, energy different. And what did they do different? They changed the mindset and they changed the diet. And instantly you can just look in their eyes and who they are, they're different human beings. And I think that's pretty much across the board.
Let's talk about fasting. Fasting is a thing that so many people fast. I personally think that some people are fasting improperly, like they're just doing like shock fast, because my mindset is that I know that fasting puts your body sometimes in a space of detox to, give yourself a rest and detox and so forth. But is it possible to get the nutrients and what you need, especially if they're not already in your body if you're fasting? So what's your thoughts on fasting? I know you can also tell them the longest fast you did, which I want to get up and shake your hand when you get that. Let them know that as well. But what's your thoughts on fasting and some things people can kind of look into to do it properly and not do the shock fast where you basically fast, lose 5 pounds, and then you go back and then you binge after the fast because your body is seeking nutrients and minerals?
Yeah, man. This goes back to, why I say I'm really careful about like, influencers out there. Sometimes I hear them saying things that I personally think is kind of dangerous. And that's why I'm not so quick to be like, yeah, this person is really dropping gems, because I'm living this, right? And I've been in this for quite some time. And what I can tell you is there's a proper way to do things. And even if you look biblically, which fasting is a very important part of spiritual life,
yep.
right? Even Quran, Bible, like most religions bring fasting and prayer in as principles, right? So if you're going to fast, there's a way to go into the fast, and there's a way to come out of the fast, and there's a way to perform the fast, right? And depending on if you're going to fast for 1 day, 7 days, or 21 days, right? You have to know how to prepare for that. And to your point, when you're fasting, your body is not going to be able to bring in vital nutrients at that time. So sometimes, let's say you're fighting a disease like cancer or something, and someone like, just fast for 100 days, but your body also needs minerals and vitamins and protein and different things also to build a strong immune system. So here's the thing with fasting. Let me just really highlight what fasting really is, right? When you're fasting, something really magical happens. And it's not just that you're giving your body a rest. That's happening also. So your whole digestive system, everything can kind of just rest, and it can focus on healing and things like that. But once you start fasting, there's a period that you use up the last glucose that was put in the body, and you switch over to a new form of energy source. So it's called glucose neogenesis. So you're no longer burning glucose for energy, you now are burning ketones. So the body begins to break down visceral fat cells in the liver and then convert them over to ketones. The brain operating off the ketones is like 93 gas. It's optimized, it's premium. And the body, when it's burning these ketones, the body gets into a state of ketosis, right? So the lymphatic system is activated and is cleansing properly. You even have it's called autophagy, where these cells are released and they go and clean up molecular waste. So your body is having the opportunity to go into this really deep cleansing and detoxing state, right? Which is beautiful. And even as that extends, right, you are really like putting the body in this incredible state. But you also have to make sure that you have been eating a diet that was putting those minerals and things in. And then there's ways to do that too.
Like
there's liquid
storage,
ways to
right?
put those trace minerals and things that the body is going to need. So that balance is definitely key.
And what's the longest fast you've done for the people to know?
So the longest fast I've done is 14 days.
14 days.
Water only.
Water only.
Water only. Now I could have at 14 days for me, because I'm a slim build, I feel like I ain't had nothing else to lose. Like I was like skin and bones, right?
Right.
But I felt amazing.
Wow.
So usually when you're fasting, the first 3 days are going to be rough.
Right.
Right. And this all depends on what your diet, what you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned something earlier that's really important. You were saying when you tried Yaqui Awakenings, juice, you had already been living a particular way. That is really important. Some people hear things and they try things, but they might be coming from pork. They might be coming from Black and Milds, like cigarettes and Hennessy,
parasites,
like
a lot of toxicity.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So depending on where you're coming from, you can send your body into a crisis.
Yeah.
If you just jump in, because what happens when you're fasting is the body is breaking down visceral fat cells, but what's stored in the visceral fat cells is toxins, metals, and things like that. So the body is like, since we got this fat sitting over here, we might as well, use it. So it's storing these toxins. So when it goes to start breaking this down, those toxins get dumped into the bloodstream. And that's why if you go get a massage and they're massaging, they're releasing toxins into your body. So when you leave, they say, drink this water. So you're constantly drinking and flushing as you're fasting because these toxins are hitting the bloodstream. And that's where you get the headache and all, the different ailments that come with fasting, right? Low energy, but if you have like this lifestyle where you've been drinking all this alcohol, like you got to be really careful and go into that with stages.
How does that look? 14 days of fasting. What are the vulnerable moments? What are the moments, even though you're being mentally tough, where you're like, I don't know, was 14 days the actual goal, or did you just go till you feel like your body did what it needed to do? And the third part of that question is, how? Third part of it.
So I answer, as far as the vulnerabilities, there's nothing easy about fasting. Let me just say that, right? It is
bookmark real quick. Sha, did you ever do your fast successfully? Your watermelon juice fast?
Oh, with me on Front Street.
Yep, that's what we do
I
here.
did 2.5 days.
Okay, bravo.
That half day wasn't meant for me, and I was getting some food.
Okay.
But the reason why my trainer said I work out too hard, so I was getting really, 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 really tired, and I felt weak.
Right.
So he was just like, "You need protein."
So 2.5 days you did do watermelon juice fast. I'm just getting information here.
I had watermelon juice and I would eat watermelon.
Okay. Sean, have you ever tried a fast? Would you ever try a fast? Would you think about it, dream about it, or hell no?
Yeah. I did the Arden Garden.
No. We love you, Arden Garden. Okay. 24 hour? Okay. You feel better?
I do feel better.
All right. Where'd the pork eater go? He's out.
Yeah,
all right.
I feel like you feel better. And it's hard for you to go back to that diet once you've been on that road to better life.
Okay. I just wanted to get the information from them as well.
Yeah.
So they've tried fasting on their levels and that's their results. Now for you say nothing easy about fasting. Was the goal 14 days?
Yeah, so the goal, what was the goal? I think originally the goal might have been like 7 days. I got to 7 days, felt amazing. So I'm gonna do another 7 days. As I was approaching my 14th day, my intention was to do another 7 days. I was gonna do 21. But when I got to 14, I had lost so much weight.
So this is just water, just regular water.
Just water.
Not
coconut
lemon,
water too.
Coconut water and water. No
That's
lemon water.
No lemon or nothing.
Just
that was strictly
water.
Just water.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you had energy. Did you still work out?
I had incredible energy.
You still worked out?
No, you can't. When you're fasting like that, I wouldn't recommend working out.
Gotcha.
I mean, I would walk, I would stretch, I would do mild stuff. Maybe a pull up or two and just kind of hang and just really work the body. But you it's difficult to recover muscle when you're not putting protein in. So
gotcha.
You're gonna atrophy.
Okay. The product you're trying to promote on the DJ Scream Show, hit us up at info@thedjscreamshow.com. All my entrepreneurs, all my brands out there, you're trying to advertise on the DJ Scream Show, info@thedjscreamshow.com. Let's get it. And when you look back on it, we all look back on things. You also ran a marathon. We'll get into the marathon. That's a whole nother thing. If someone asked you, you got through a 14-day fast. How?
One day at a time. But you set your intentions. So my intentions was 7 days. But if you don't set your intentions, I'm just gonna fast till I put, you probably not gonna go very far. But if you get clear with yourself, like this is my goal, and then the day is broken up, like I know if I'm hanging around that kitchen, it's gonna be tough. So my kitchen lights are out. I'm not even in there. I'm not in the refrigerator.
Right.
Now some people get difficult because they might have to prepare food. Like a lot of times women have to cook for their family and children. It's difficult to fast and you gotta prepare food for others. Or others are in the kitchen cooking it up and you gotta smell it. All those are difficult. But for me, I think I don't want to just say discipline, but it is a matter of being focused and disciplined. Because when you start fasting, in America, feels like everybody on earth is eating at all times. I mean, you get in your car, you can smell fries through your windows. Like fast food is everywhere. Like it's if you think fasting is gonna be this thing we just go on a mountain and just get away from no. You gotta do it with all the shenanigans all around you. You know, and that's where you really build. Let me say this too. I really think to take fasting to the next level, it can't just be physical. Fasting is spiritual and mental first. And it just happens to have physical benefits. But the real charge in fasting is the spirituality aspect, because that's where you're denying yourself. And that's a spiritual principle. So you also have to set intentions. Like, is your fast spiritual as well as physical, or are you just trying to get some type of physical benefits? Because they're different. You know.
You how long was the marathon that you did as a runner? You're a runner as well.
26.2 miles.
26.2 miles.
Yeah, 26.2 miles. One of the toughest things I've ever done. I don't even have a question
for you in regards to that. Man, I think the longest walk was about 4.8 miles. Was that the hike? I think one of the hikes was Banks hikes. We did that 5K hike, but that one was like, well, I didn't make it because I'm a weak-minded person. We all went on the Peachtree Road race. Me and my wife, Shy, Courtney. My mind wasn't right though. I just went out there and tried to do it. I still applaud myself for getting where I got. You know what I'm saying? I applaud myself because some people did 0.
Yeah.
But my mind races. So like now I can go walk Silver Comet, and if I get the right lo-fi music or whatever, I get into a trance where it's like, oh man, that's 3 miles in. If you just fall into that trance, I'm imagining that's some of what you had to do 26. How long did that 26 miles take?
So the goal is to try. Okay, so my goal was to try to average at least 9 minutes per mile.
9 minutes per mile is not jogging, Rashon Fuller. That's sprinting.
No, what?
I was just saying, that's like
listen, these guys run miles in 4 minutes, man.
People run miles in 4 minutes?
I can't wrap my mind around it.
With inclines?
Oh, yeah. These guys from Kenya, they run, and this is the thing, they'll run like a 4:30 mile consistently for all 26 miles, and uphill, downhill. It don't matter. They don't break that pace.
You know what that tells me? that tells me how dynamic the human body is if you really know how to use your human body. Because at first I would say the words can't and won't and no and so forth. But when I knew what my body was capable of is when I started boxing. And I mean, the first day was pain. And I was like, I'm never coming here again. But the sense of accomplishment at the end of it, he's like, yo, you did a full, like, outside of the workout, you did a full round of boxing. We're going to get you to 12. All of a sudden, it's just like, you know, the grinder in me is like, I would like to see how it feels for those boxers to, even though you feel like feathers under your legs after round 2, you know what I'm saying? But I say that just to say the body can do some amazing things. I mean, we know this because women give birth, right? So that's a whole nother conversation. But man, so let me go back to the same thing like when we were talking about the fast. How?
So
26 miles. How?
Here's the beautiful thing. This is the beautiful thing. And you really hit on it. We have to figure out what we can do. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I think that's a big human drive. Mm-hmm. Like, what can you do? What can I, like, I'm here, right? I got this mind, body, like, what can I do? Right? Like, you know, when you were little and you get a toy, like, you know, what can it do? Like, you know, can it go fast? Like, you want to know what can it do?
I see what you're saying.
So when I started training, at first I started running, right? And I just was feeling good. Like, you know, I'm a calisthenics guy. But I just started running and was feeling good. And at some point, I ended up listening to this podcast called Rich Roll Podcast. And they have all these ultra athletes on there. And they had me gassed up. Like, they just was talking about, like, you know, how different ways they push their body to these, you know, do these amazing feats. And I got inspired. And first I was like, didn't know what I was going to do with it. But at some point I said to myself, why not run a marathon? Why not, you know? Now, I'd never ran, at that time, when I first decided, I didn't think I ran more than like maybe 7, 8 miles ever. In my training, I never ran more than 14 miles. That was the most I did. But every day as I was training, it's this zone you get in. Like, when you kind of hit on it, but when you're running, you just in your head. And it's like this euphoric feeling.
It's a rhythm too with your heart.
And it's a rhythm.
Your heart hits a certain rhythm.
You in a zone. You going, right? So that was like the key. But the main thing is, it's like, it's this incredible adrenaline rush to set a goal for yourself that is beyond what you think you can do.
Talking about dopamine on a whole nother level, I imagine. You probably were on a cloud for the next.
And show up for it.
Yeah.
And look, when you get that, when I first got there, it was a lady, and you know, they people kind of debrief you a little bit. They're like, hey, how you doing? Like, you know, what's your plan out there? And I remember thinking, like, plan? I don't have one of them.
Right.
To run, to finish.
Had you done 26 before that to prepare?
No. I never ran more than 14 miles. Ever when I ran that race. Even my wife thought I was crazy. She like, you know, as it was getting close, a couple things was happening. Like, it kept raining every day, like it was like emergencies. So I went like almost a month where I couldn't really run like I normally do. And she just assumed I wasn't really going to do the race. And that day I was like, well, the day before I said, you know, you ready? And she like, you really gonna run this race? But when you get there and you see these other runners, it's intense. When you go out there like maybe 5 in the morning and it's cold and everybody's out there and everybody got this look in their eye. Like they're there, but they're not there. They just zoned out. And when you get in a place, you got these goosebumps. Your heart is pumping because that's a long time to be hitting that pavement.
For measure, I want y'all to know 26 miles is like driving from Atlanta Airport to Alpharetta.
Yeah.
For measure for my people that live in Atlanta.
It's insane.
Yeesh.
But when you out there and you run, okay, this is what the lady gave me the best advice ever.
Mm-hmm.
She said, listen, you're going to get to around mile 16 and your body going to be screaming. It's going to say stop. By the time you get to 20, everything's going to be hurting.
And you never stop.
I never stopped. But that lady told the truth. When I got to about mile 16, mile 17, I felt it all over. By the time I got to 20, every step you felt that thing, boy. Knees, back, everything.
What kept you going?
It's all mental. It is that rhythm in your head. It is that determination, and you push through. You push, and you're not the same. When you cross that finish line, you're a different person. Because now you know what you can do. Now you got to ask yourself, what else can I do? Right? And once that bar gets set, then the next, you're only going up from there. So amazing experience. And look, this is important. Going back to the whole fasting and wellness thing. When I was training for the marathon, I didn't understand that you had to eat a certain way and do strength training. So I lost a tremendous amount of muscle training because I was running like 10 miles a day, 11 miles a day, every day. Like, well, most, maybe about 4 times a week. So when by the time I ran the marathon and when I was done, I could see that I had lost all of this muscle mass because I didn't do strength training properly. I didn't eat properly for that kind of engagement. So that was a lesson. So whatever my next situation be, I know I gotta learn the lay of the land. I gotta know how to eat. I gotta learn how to recover properly. I gotta know, if there's strength training involved, I gotta get serious about that. So I would definitely be on top of that.
Got you. One of the things I'm gonna ask my brothers on the DJ Screen Show podcast. You are married, so the first question to be is, what is the most challenging part of marriage and a union, in your opinion?
I think the most challenging part is understanding that you are married to a whole human being who has their own path, their own gifts from God, their own process and way of thinking about things, and it could be totally different than yours. And it doesn't mean you're incompatible. It means you got to give them space to be 100% who they are. And so they can grow into who they're growing into.
I like that.
That's probably the most difficult thing. Because when you're together, there's this tendency for you to look over, and when it don't match how you process things, you want to change it. You want to that doesn't work. So I've had to learn how to let go, let my wife be her, and focus on me being me, and enjoy what we have together, that our trains are rolling together on the same track. And that was very difficult for me.
What's some keys or some gems you'll give to the married people out there that you think are healthy things for a marriage to help a marriage prosper?
Great question. Number one, I think me and my wife had this in common. When we got married, I think we both had a good understanding of what we were doing it for. Right? It's a spiritual thing. So I know that I was making a covenant. So when things got tough, and they got tough, when things got really tough in our marriage, I never kicked around the ideal of divorce or whatever, because I knew what I signed up for. I just dug in, right? And my wife did the same thing. Sure, it was tough for her, but we never this is it. We both were on that same page. The other thing is we are aligned. My wife is also plant-based. We live the same lifestyle.
That was a question I was going to ask you. Do you think you guys could continue to align if she wasn't in the same health space?
That was going to be tough.
Be tough, right?
Because
like walking into fried chicken and
Yeah,
you're plant-based would be
that probably
tough,
wasn't
right?
gonna work.
Yeah.
That wasn't gonna work. Yeah, like
Right.
we gotta use different pots.
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
even feel like I'm
Yeah.
being poisoned by the smell in the air. Like
Right,
I'm taking in
right.
atoms of animals. Like
Right,
yeah, that
right.
probably wasn't gonna work.
Right, that would be tough.
So
Okay.
that alignment really is key. You gotta be selling on the same course.
Mhm.
You know, you don't have to be the same person and have all the same interests, but
Mhm.
with major lifestyle,
Mm.
you know, choices and decisions, it's hard when one person has not chosen me. Like you got to choose you. I want to be the healthiest I can be. I want to, you know, I want to shine my light as bright as it, and I want to evolve into the highest unfoldment of my highest self, right? If you with someone who hasn't taken that same vow, that's you're dragging
tough,
someone
right?
along. Tough.
Yeah, absolutely. We do something called the unexpected on the DJ Scream Show.
Let's go.
So the next question will be unexpected for you to hear, unexpected for you to answer, but we're gonna ask it nonetheless. Now, you're a fan of hip hop music, or have been?
Absolutely.
Okay, fan of hip hop music.
Die hard.
All right. 3 favorite gangster rappers for Rashon Fuller.
3 favorite gangster rappers.
I'm talking about shoot 'em up,
shoot 'em up, bang, bang. Let's see. Okay, is this hustle too, or just bang bang?
Well, listen. The industry, I don't even really like the term gangster rappers.
Okay.
I don't really like it. But what is perceived as a gangster rapper? You know what's gangster, man.
All right. I'm okay. Number 1 is group okay?
Group,
okay.
Individual.
I gotta go with NWA.
NWA.
I gotta put NWA out there just right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like they did something different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to go with MOP. MOP. They just different.
That's a different
when it comes
answer.
to gangster rap. Like they different. And who else? Gangster rap. I'm probably gonna have to go with 50.
50, okay. All right. That's crazy. Oh, you mentioned Ice Cube because you mentioned NWA.
Yep.
So that's a first for me not to hear Ice Cube. It's definitely a first that you didn't mention Tupac, even though, again, the gangster rap label.
Yeah, I didn't have him as gangster. I didn't have Tupac as gangster. Like when I think gangster, I think like, you know,
Uzis and Tech Nines.
in and out of prison,
right.
scar on the left cheek, like,
Got you.
and them bars that just hit you different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Jeezy is hustler, but I don't get gangster.
Trap or hustle.
That's trap. You know what I mean?
Right.
But MOP, when you hear Andy up,
you know,
like,
they're that's
they
hardcore.
might have to close.
That's
the
what you
club.
call hardcore.
Yeah.
Hardcore. Oh, here's the pork, man. What's the longest fast you ever did? You.
Me?
Yeah, she did 2 days. She did a day. He did.
I did a 14-day water fast.
No, you didn't, bro.
Swear to God, last year
That was my
birthday.
blood cousin. He's lying on my podcast.
Swear to God, my birthday.
I did 14 days. I did 7.
I did the day after my birthday.
Okay. That's
He
what's up.
did a 14-day water fast, and he also ran a 26-mile
I
marathon.
didn't do that. But after like day 7, like 6 or 7, like that's when I started feeling better.
When? I ain't never hear about this.
I can't tell folks, but I know you might talk out of it. I wouldn't do it again, though.
Did you eat pork in the midst of it?
I didn't eat anything, but I don't eat pork anyway.
Well, before you, I'm joking. He don't eat pork. Before you did that, how you prepare for it?
I didn't.
You just went straight into a 14-day water fast. It must have been very spiritual.
No, I was just reading up on it. The girl that does the juices.
Oh, you did it recently?
This was last year.
No, bro. Ain't no way. Ain't none of us hear about this.
It was. This is what I'm saying. So remember when we had Swamp go to the spot?
Yeah.
The next day I started, the girl taught me to doing the water fast, and then I went to the juice. I transitioned from water to juice to chicken wings and messed me up.
Just getting information. All right. Well, kudos to you and salute. I have not made it past 24 hours, so you the man.
I'm a firm firm believer chicken diet for our benefit. Anytime
Oh
they
my
get their own
gosh.
opinion,
Here we
we
go.
love you.
Here we go. Oh, well, now that's an interesting sentiment with the gangster rappers. I have one more question for you. Man. Okay, so if it was left up to you, and you are a community leader, but they put you in a space where you're the community leader that everybody's going to fully engage with. We're not just going to say political, because in the African American community, we've had community leaders that people listen to, like you said, Elijah Muhammad, MLK, Malcolm, anything like that. What are the most pressing things or pressing issues in our community that you would tackle immediately? Like, everybody's looking to you for the answer and to have a better life. We're talking about full life. I'm talking about financial, not just, the holistic part of it, but we want a better life. And you're like our, for lack of better comparisons, Messiah per se. What are the first things that you tackle in the community? What are the things that you have the queens do to refine themselves, the brothers do to refine themselves? Like, what are the things that you implement?
Yeah. So I'm going after mental health. It's number one.
I like that you start with mental with everything, because this is the real. This is not the transmission. This is the engine, right?
It's the engine.
Yeah.
Mental health. Real quick, I was listening to I think Sam Altman. He's OpenAI CEO. So ChatGPT.
Very familiar.
And they asked him a question. They said, do you think having ChatGPT is going to make people brain lazy? Like, well, I think when I could just do ChatGPT, right? And his answer blew me away, which goes back to mindset, right? His answer said, yeah, there's definitely going to be people who just don't think because they're using ChatGPT. He said, 100%. He said, but I also think there's going to be individuals who will think bigger, deeper, wider than they have ever thought since they've been on this planet. That's who I make this for. And the reality is, you could take children and put them in a world like this with so much opportunity. Like, there's never been this kind of opportunity before, ever. But if they are so laden with trauma and all the, the mental things that they're having to absorb from these environments, they can't even lock in on it. So it doesn't even benefit them. So until you address that mental health and mindset, like, it's kind of difficult to grow, no matter what you put around, financially, emotionally, relationship-wise, health-wise. It's tough to really grow. So I stack that first. And then I will go after the nutrition. What we're feeding our kids in school. I would go after trying to educate women when they're pregnant, even. What they're consuming. What's going on in our supermarkets, like what we're choosing to put on our plates, the fast food, like, all these things is really taking us out. The toxins that we're loading these bodies up with. It's difficult to even be the spiritual beings that we are. We're becoming bodies that happen to have a brain and a mind, as opposed to being a spirit that happens to be operating in a physical body. And we're becoming like incarcerated in this. So I would try to free us through first mental health. You can't even have a healthy spirituality
without mental
health.
That's hell. I always say if your mental health is not in order, that's hell here.
Absolutely.
In the present.
Absolutely. And so those would be the top two, right? Mental health, nutrition, and then from there, I think I would really focus on the financial aspect, because I think when we start getting into business as a community, there's so much that you learn about who you are when it comes to business. It's beyond just making money. You got to have healthy relationships. You got to network. I mean, the whole ideal of sometimes when you think about making money in business, like you gotta leave your house, you gotta come outside, right? So I think about like why are we living? Why did God design money? But if you didn't have a reason to have to leave your home, like to go earn, like how would you take your gifts to the market where other people need them? Like what we have inside of us is not necessarily for us. Like we don't even recognize our gifts sometimes because it comes so easy to us. But your gift, someone else might need your gift. But if there's nothing to push you out into the market, how do you take your market and take your gift and put it in the market?
Makes sense.
But you got to go get, the currency. So you take your gifts out there. So I think business is the next thing that I would make really healthy.
What's the biggest gem or the biggest life lesson you would share with a young brother out there watching? Like if you could just, if somebody said, "Oh, gee, just give me some, just give me something, because I'm lost out here." What's the biggest gem or life lesson you'll give them?
All you ever have is the now moment. Ever. Most anxiety and depression is the result of us trying to get into a past or a future that doesn't exist. We only have the now moment. And what I would press upon that individual is it's enough. If you make the most of your now, your future will take care of itself. And you will never get to that so-called future that actually never comes and feel all this regret that you didn't unfold it. So if you're making the most of now, then you're probably going to be grateful, right? You're probably not going to be focused on other people's business. You're not going to be dragged down by past events. You are totally centered in the now, and that's where God resides, and that's where your greatest power will ever be. That would be the greatest advice I can
Focus on the now.
Your now moment.
Because you can't change the past and you can't control the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate you taking the time. You know you're coming back.
Man, it's
without
my
a
pleasure.
Question. You know what I'm saying?
I'm so glad to be here, man. And thank you.
Thank you. Let everybody know where they can tap in with you. Social media, websites, etc.
So I am Rashon Fuller across social media. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, and I'm on TikTok, and even my website. Everything is Rashon Fuller.
There it is. Big shouts out to my brother Rashon Fuller for pulling up on me. It's the DJ Scream Show. Check us out at www.thedjscreamshow.com. Until next time, salute.
Salute.
This is a Big Facts Network exclusive.